Welcome to my channel. It is Thursday, grocery haul day, and this is an extra special one, an extra special part of Shelftember, because we're doing an extreme budget grocery challenge. I promised you guys at the end of last month when I did my other extreme grocery budget challenge. I always say that wrong. Extreme grocery budget challenge. Yes, that sounds right. I'm going to say like grocery shopping budget grocery shopping you know, you get the picture. Anyway, so we are going to eat all this food for 1 week as a family of 4. I will post my last one below. I went to Walmart for that one. That one was super fun too. And I actually feel like even better about this one. So I feel like it's only getting better and better as time goes on. Here's what we got. So I actually spent, in Shelftember, I'm supposed to spend $25 a week. And I apologize. I spent $27.02. And I kind of knew this was going to happen because this bad guy over here, I completely forgot about my syrup and never entered how much it cost into my little calculator. So things happen, but I need the syrup. So I can't budge on anything else. This is where we're at, $27.02. So here's what I got. 85 cents each for eggs. So we got 2 eggs at 85 cents. We got this syrup at $1.29. So that was a semi-splurge item right there. We got these sweet potatoes, which is, it's quite a bit. $2.39. And what I want to do with that, so, you know, there's a lot through here. I want to do, I kind of had this idea of making a sweet potato chili in mind before we got started on this. I will tell you that in these challenges, I am going to use my own seasonings. So if you don't like that, too bad. But I'm going to use my own seasonings to kind of make the chili. So I'm assuming we have chili powder and all that, all those goodies. So we're going to use the sweet potatoes for sweet potato chili one night. And I want to make some like taco boats with these black beans. So we're going to make like a black bean taco sweet potato one night. And then we're also going to do sweet potato chili. So black beans and that will be used for both of those items. And then I got some flour and some milk and some yeast, which means that not only, and we have our margin. Not only can we make bread, but we can also make biscuits, and then we can also make pie dough. So it gives a lot of options in that section. We could even make pasta if we wanted to. So this is $1.15 at Aldi, which is like the best price I've ever seen on flour, and I always buy my flour at Aldi because of that. And then this was $1.39 maybe. And then, so this is whole milk. It's weird because it has a 0 label, like only on the back. Oh yeah, there it is. This was like $1.39, I think. Totally worth it because for breakfast we'll have biscuit sandwiches with the eggs, which I'm super excited about. And then our white rice, which was I think $1.89 for 3 pounds. So we're gonna have like tons of rice, and I don't even know, like I got rice kind of as an extra thing because I wanted to switch it out for pasta because the pasta was 79 cents. And I feel like, I don't know, we don't need 1 box of pasta versus like for double the price, you can get like a lot more bang for your buck with the rice. So we'll make a chicken rice dish, and then we can also use leftover black beans to make black bean bowls. It's kind of a dual purpose there. So that's kind of, lunches are going to be really just like leftovers, and then black bean bowls or chicken rice bowls or whatnot. So milk, yes. So we got some, all these cans are like 49 cents. So corn, that's going to be for our chili. Mixed vegetables, I want to make a chicken pot pie one night. So we're going to use these chicken breasts, we'll get to those, but all right, we'll get to them now. The chicken breasts are like $5.49 for, it's 48 ounces, so 3 pounds. And the reason I went for these versus, I think I could have got split chicken breasts for 99 cents a pound, is that these don't have any bones or anything, so I'm not paying for the weight in the bones. So that's why I was excited for these. I just feel like we're going to get a lot more bang for our buck, a lot more chicken for that. And okay, so chicken pot pie, we'll be using this, and then we're going to make like a roux with our flour and our butter, and then use some of the sweet potatoes in that too. So that should be delicious. And then diced tomatoes. I got the basil, garlic, oregano because I didn't really buy anything like that, no onions or anything like that. So with this, we're going to use this in a rice and chicken bake tomato soup because I'll make bread. And then I think I skipped over this, but the Colby Jack was $1.69. We're going to have to make this like really, we're really going to have to spread this out. So we're not going to have a lot of it on things, but just a little bit of cheese on breakfast sandwiches. And then also maybe for a lunch or two, probably one lunch, we can have grilled cheese and tomato soup. And another ambitious thing I want to do is like a sheet pan meal with baby carrots and sweet potatoes and then chicken. Actually, that's not ambitious. But the other thing I want to do is ambitious, which is stuffing. So I was thinking about taking our bread, if we make some bread, and making my own stuffing out of it and doing like a chicken and stuffing dish. Lots of ideas floating around. And I also, like, my goal is to use literally all this flour. Just bake up a storm. Because I'm like, oh, I could make apples. These were $1.99 for the bag, a 3-pound bag. I could make an apple pie. I could make apple turnovers. I could make apple muffins. The options are really endless. And then also snacks for the kids. Also, these were 79 cents a pound. This is 2 pounds. So you're looking at like $1.50 for all these grapes. These were on like, you know, the red tag sale. So I was happy with that. This is 84 cents and these were 79 cents. And I kind of want to do like a croissant or like a pie dough and then wrap it around the hot dogs for the kids for lunches. So that's my thought there. I have a good feeling about this. I think we will be able to not only eat well, I think we're going to eat really well. I think we're going to have a lot of food. This will be the biggest, like most amount of food that we are going to have for a challenge yet. All right, guys. Well, that is a wrap for the grocery haul portion of this extreme grocery budget challenge.
So upon more research on what it would take to make biscuits and the chili, I realized that I had left out major components, which include some crushed tomatoes, baking powder, and tomato paste. I also purchased the sour cream because I think it would be really, really good with all the stuff we're making, and that added about $3, so it puts us up to $30 for the challenge. The first thing I am going to do is make my bread. I'm just making bread in my Cuisinart bread maker. I am going to link a recipe below for you guys that is a bread recipe that does not require a bread maker, but I did use mine because it's just easier for me. I ended up doing most of the prep for this entire challenge in one day. I knew it was going to be a busy week for us, so I just wanted to see how much I could get done, and honestly, I got a lot done. I'm kind of impressed with myself. The really cool thing about doing everything ahead was that we had everything in the fridge that we needed for the week all ready to go, and we had a lot of options. It really felt like we could choose between, there was 5 different meals that we could choose between at any given time. So it really felt like a robust week of eating, and on only $30 at that, which was awesome. Once finished, I'm just going to let that bread cool off and get our black beans started. So I do have uncooked black beans, which means they need to be cooked. My preferred method is the Instant Pot, and I will link that method below, but it's just 30 minutes, and I had 3 cups of black beans, so I added 6 cups of water and some salt. I'm going to make pancakes for the entire week now, which is quite the process. I probably should have used 2 pans, but I used just one. It's going to be 4 times the recipe. So I have 4 cups of flour in here. I'm adding 8 teaspoons of baking powder. I'll be adding 4 teaspoons of salt and 4 eggs. The original recipe does call for sugar, but I don't have any. And honestly, they turned out great. We're adding maple syrup to them later anyway, so the sugar is really not a loss.
I know that I should keep it cool, babe. Not lose my swag and play the fool, babe. Just play the game and hold on, maybe. But I'm done with the waiting, done with the waiting. I'm done with playing nice. Now look me in the eyes. Tell me what you see inside. Not gonna ask you twice. Not looking for your lies. Tell me, do you wanna go? Do you wanna go? Do you wanna go? Do you wanna go? Those who wanna play by the rules end up last with nothing to obtain. So let's level up to remain. 'Cause I'm done with the waiting, done with the waiting. I'm done with playing nice. Now look me in the eyes. Tell me what you see inside. Not gonna ask you twice. Not looking for you.
So the day that I was recording was the first day of the challenge, so the kids already ate their first portion, and I portioned out 4 pancakes each day. That's 2 pancakes per kid, and honestly, they don't even eat that much, but it turned out awesome, and they were huge fans, and even put some of those apples cut up over them. I had to give them their little glamour shot here. It really does look amazing, doesn't it? Kind of jealous. So once the pancakes were done, my black beans were done kind of around the same time. Once the 30 minutes was up, I let them sit for another 20 minutes on slow release, and now I am draining them into the sink and rinsing them.
Keep thinking that I could have done something, but now I'm left with an empty heart. No making amends, no waking up beside you and holding you till we forget it all. How could I know there was no second?
Next up, I'm going to make the biscuits. So the recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of very cold butter. I'm making 2 times the recipe, which is going to be about 2.5 sticks. And I don't have butter. I have shortening. So my solution to this is I'm going to put cubed up shortening in the freezer to get it very cold and harder, and hopefully it's going to work. For the remainder of the recipe, I'll be adding 6 cups of flour, which honestly used a lot more of my flour than I expected. After making bread and pancakes and now the biscuits, I ended up with almost no flour. So all my hopes and dreams of making a pie or maybe some apple crisp were kind of dashed. But it's okay, I got over it and ended up just fine. So I'm adding 6 cups of flour, 8 teaspoons of baking powder. Again, thank God I went out and got that baking powder because it's been extremely important in most of my recipes. To round out the dry ingredients, I just added a teaspoon of salt and mixed everything together. And once my margarine was cold, I added that to the bowl. At one point here, you notice I did have to switch out my bowls because I realized things were going to overflow and we didn't want that. Crazily enough, I do not own a pastry cutter, so in order to cut the margarine into our dry mixture, I just used a fork, which honestly turned out fine. Just kind of mash everything together, My natural inclination is to use my hands and mush everything together, but I knew that that was going to warm up my margarine too much and possibly cause my biscuits to become dense. So I really wanted a flaky biscuit, so I refrained from touching it as much as I wanted to. My plan is to use these biscuits for breakfast sandwiches as well as a side for a chicken pot pie soup. I've realized I can't actually make chicken pot pie. I will be using my biscuits as a side for my soup and give a little bit more substance to that. Once everything is well mixed, you can add your wet ingredients. In this case, it is 2 eggs and 2 cups of milk, and then mix everything until it's just incorporated. You really want to make sure that the dough is light and fluffy. It almost feels airy, like a cloud, and it's just kind of not that well mixed, but mixed enough, right? You still want some chunks of butter in there, and you want to make sure that you basically can tell that it's going to be flaky when it comes out. Once we're at that level, we're just going to put some flour on the surface and take our hands and just press it out into about 1/4 inch thick, and then take a cup and make biscuits. So I just chose a cup that's probably, 2.5 inches, and it just seemed like the perfect biscuit size, and it was. I was also thinking about what it would be like having breakfast sandwiches with it and what size biscuit I would want for that. I then cooked them in the oven at 450 for 12 minutes, and they turned out golden and perfect.
I know I have to lay in the bed I made. I know I let you down, and that was a big mistake. Just tell me your life, you have to. I just wanna pretend that you're mine for the last time. Is that alright? Just tell me your life, you have to. I just wanna pretend. All I need is you, you, yeah, you. All I need is you, you, yeah, you. All I need is you. I know I have to pay for the mistakes I made, but I hope you know that I regret every single thing I did. Oh, just tell me your life, you have to. I just wanna pretend that you're mine for the last time. Is that alright now? Just tell me your life, you have to. I just wanna pretend. All I need is you, you, yeah, you. All I need is you, you, yeah, you. All I need is
Now, while our biscuits cool, I am just going to get started on the sweet potatoes. I have decided that I'm going to make a sweet potato black bean chili, as well as some sweet potato black bean taco boats. Just going to start by cutting up 4 of my sweet potatoes. I will peel them and slice them. The other 4 sweet potatoes I'm actually going to cook in the Instapot a little bit later and make into those taco boats. For the sweet potato black bean chili, I'm going to admit we are kind of winging it here. I'm just going to cook up my sweet potatoes. Generally, I would put an onion in, but I don't have one, so we are going crazy with our spices. Got my crushed tomatoes, garlic powder, onion powder, chili powder, cumin, and smoked paprika. I'm just going to add about 2 teaspoons of each of our spices here and then toast it up a little bit. I think it helps to really bring out the fragrance of the herbs, to put them in the pan without any liquid for a minute or so, just until you can really get that smell. And then I'm adding my can of crushed tomatoes, 1 can of water, and about a half a can of black beans. So I just took the black beans that I cooked earlier and added those in there. I'm just cooking this over medium heat until it kind of starts to boil, and then cooking it over a simmer for about 30 minutes. I just served this with a tiny bit of shredded cheese and sour cream, and we were able to eat this for 1 dinner and 2 lunches. So it really stretched, and it gave me all those fall vibes that I was hoping for. For a couple of meals, I'm going to need some cooked shredded chicken. So I am going to cook up about half of my chicken in the Instant Pot. I linked the recipe for shredded Instant Pot chicken below, but I am just cooking it on manual for 10 minutes and then slow release for 5 minutes, and it shreds up perfectly. At the same time, I'm getting my rice started, so I took about half my bag of rice. The ratio for rice in the rice cooker is 2 to 1, so you want to make sure you have 2 times as much water as you have rice, and then I'm just setting my setting to white rice, and every time this works, it cooks up to perfectly cooked rice in 45 minutes. You could also follow the instructions on the back of the package, and it would turn out great too. For our eggs for our breakfast sandwiches, I'm trying a new method. I did not want to fry up 12 eggs after cooking, like 40 pancakes. It was too much. So I figured, let's try this muffin tin method. I've seen it online. I've seen it on Pinterest. Let's see if it's any good. All we need to do is oil our muffin pan and then crack 12 eggs in and cook it in the oven at 350 for 14 minutes.
We did have something, it's hard to explain. Remember that song we used to sing in the rain? My God, the ice cream we used to consume.
Okay, did these come out good or what? This is my new favorite egg making method. They were the perfect size to make sandwiches out of. I just put a little bit of cheese on top, some salt and pepper, and now I'm going to assemble my breakfast sandwiches for the week. This day was the day we started the challenge, so Dan and I already had 2 eggs and some fruit for breakfast. These breakfast sandwiches are for the rest of the week. Chicken came out perfect from the Instant Pot, and I just shredded it up with my favorite shredder tool here. And I'm going to use this for a chicken pot pie soup and a rice and beans casserole. At the same time, my white rice was done. My chicken was done a little while ago, but I could be wrong, but I feel like when these little circle holes are in here, I know that it's done, and the rice was perfect. Before I get started on anything else, I'm just going to be cooking my sweet potatoes in the Instant Pot. You just want to pressure cook on high for 15 minutes and then naturally release for 10 for perfect sweet potatoes. My next little project here is a chicken and rice and beans casserole. I just had a can of corn, about half of that chicken breast I just cooked up. I kind of messed up on my recording here, but I put about 6 cups of cooked rice, a can of diced tomatoes, about another can of black beans, and 1 teaspoon of cumin, chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder, and salt and pepper to taste. With this, you really just want to taste it and see if it's right. It's something that I just make as an easy budget meal for my family all the time. It's one of our favorites, and I really don't have a recipe for it. It's really just a wing it based on what you have, but it always turns out amazing. I'm going to serve this with some sour cream, and we'll be able to get this to last us for 1 meal and about 2 lunches. When it's time to eat the casserole, you can either heat it up in the oven for 20 minutes at 350, or like we do, we just take it right out of the casserole dish, put it in a bowl, and microwave it for a couple minutes. It turns out perfect. Also tastes really good with quinoa or with some extra cheddar cheese if you have some. Just based on this challenge, we don't, but I'm just giving you some alternative options. And if you're vegetarian, go ahead and remove that chicken, put some extra black beans in. It's still amazing. It's so easy, and I recommend it for everyone. Next up is our chicken pot pie soup. So I decided to make this soup because I did not have enough margarine and flour to actually make a crust for my pie, but I do have plenty of extra biscuits, so it worked out perfect. I am just making up a roux, and honestly, the recipe that I had called for some onions, so I'm just mixing onion powder in with my butter and then adding 1/3 a cup of flour. And I'm sorry, I did not say that was about 4 tablespoons of margarine. Just going to mix this up until it's well incorporated. This is basically making a roux. Now, I kind of messed up here. The recipe says to slowly add 3 cups of water and 2 cups of milk. Actually, it says chicken stock, but I don't have chicken stock, so we're just going with water and salt. That's my go-to when I don't have chicken stock. Water and salt will do just fine. That's basically what it is these days, unless you're making your own. So it said to slowly do it. I didn't. I poured it all in a rush, and I was praying that it was going to work out, and it did. Just whisked everything together and there's my salt, and add my vegetables and my chicken to this until everything thickens up. I definitely had a nervous moment there where I was worried it was going to be just so thin, but honestly, the soup turned out amazing. Just want to cook this for about 15 minutes until it really thickens, and that's all it needs. This made enough for dinner and lunch one day. It was really good, served with a biscuit, and my husband absolutely loved it. I really liked it too. The kids were more interested in the biscuits, but they did like dipping them in the soup, so I suppose that was a win in its own. The next meal I'm going to make is taco black bean sweet potatoes. I just have the remainder of my black beans here, and I'm going to pour some onion powder, garlic powder, and smoked paprika on them. Honestly, you might think this is a lot, but it gives them some great flavor and really complements the sweet potato. So my sweet potatoes are coming out of the Instant Pot. You can tell they're cooked because I'm just sticking my finger into them apparently. But they really do come out so velvety when they come from the Instant Pot. If you don't have an Instant Pot, that's totally fine. I can link a recipe for oven baked sweet potatoes that will get you there just as easily, and they will be good as well. So I'm just taking my casserole dish and putting my sweet potatoes in there. and simple enough. I'm just going to stuff them with those black beans and top them with a little bit of shredded cheese. I did mention in my haul, we don't have a lot of shredded cheese, so it really is just kind of a novelty, putting on some things just a little bit here and there. And I am going to serve them with sour cream because obviously sour cream is amazing and it really complements this dish. This was a huge hit and I was so happy to be able to feed my kids sweet potatoes and kind of try and convince them they're tacos. They pretty much will eat anything as long as I put sour cream on it, so another benefit to getting sour cream. Now I did have a little bit of extra black beans here and I figured why don't I make up a little rice and beans dish for, any random occasion that we need to have a snack or a quick meal on the go. This casserole dish fed the family on Wednesday night, and then we had a leftover potato, so we ate that on Thursday, as well as the rice and beans dish, and the kids had hot dogs, because let's not forget about those hot dogs from the haul. Those were lifesavers on occasion for the kids, and that's why I bought them. By Friday, it was time to make some fresh food. So I'm making a grilled cheese and tomato soup. Just using the bread that I cooked on Monday, slicing it up for the family and buttering it with some margarine. I really barely have any margarine left at this point, so I tried to go a little bit light so that I could use the rest of it for some carrots in a later recipe. And then I just sliced the rest of my cheese as well. Kind of sad to run out of cheese by Thursday, but it's where we're at. Even then, my husband was like, did we not have cheese when I made these grilled cheeses? The answer was yes, we didn't have cheese. We were out. But he did really enjoy the bread, and it was so good. I do love grilled cheese and tomato soup as like a hearty fall meal. The weather was perfect for it, so it was just kind of begging me to make it. Dan and I each had one grilled cheese sandwich, and the kids each had a half. I tried to get them to try dipping it in the tomato soup, and they did try it. We do try and get them to do no thank you bites if they don't like something, but they were mostly all about the grilled cheese portion and not as much about the tomato soup. For the soup, I actually used a can of condensed tomato soup, and then I realized that I bought that tomato paste because I thought that I was going to need it for my chili, and I actually didn't end up needing it. So I added my tomato paste to my soup to stretch it, and a bunch of water and some milk. It was actually the last of the milk, and some basil and oregano and salt. It worked out very well. I think that next time if I had sugar, I would have added it because the tomato paste itself is very acidic. But it definitely was fine with the grilled cheese. I don't know that I would have used what I did have for sugar, which would be maple syrup in it. I could have maybe potentially shredded an apple now that I think about it, but those are just some alternative options if you really didn't have any sugar. But like I said, it honestly was just fine. We enjoyed the soup. We enjoyed the sandwich. We still ate all the soup. It was just a little bit acidic. That's all. Just not perfect. But using the tomato paste to stretch a tomato soup is definitely something you can do. Just remember to add a little bit of sugar. Like I said at the beginning of this video, we had a really busy weekend, so on Friday, when I made my grilled cheese and tomato soup, I took advantage of the time that I had and made my final meal. This meal is maple glazed baby carrots and stuffed chicken. This time of year, I absolutely love stuffing inside of my chicken. I generally would put sausage and apples in it, and it just has this amazing fall flavor. For this, I'm making my own stuffing. So I'm taking the heels of the bread, and then I'm adding that sage, rosemary, garlic powder, oregano, and onion powder, and just toasting it up in the pan, about a half a teaspoon of each. Honestly, not too much, but I definitely want that flavor. And I want to get everything fragrant, and then I'm going to add all of my bread cubes. The heels of the bread were absolutely perfect for this because they just were like a little bit crispy. And so I'm just going to coat everything and then pour in 2 cups of water to kind of hydrate it. It honestly tasted like the most perfect stuffing that I've ever had. So couldn't even tell. It wasn't like store-bought or even like fancy homemade. This is just like a few different seasonings and some bread. And thinking back on it, I have no idea why I didn't add apple to this, because I did have apples left at this point, and that's generally what I would do with it, but I just completely slipped my mind. So I'm just taking my chicken breasts that I have left here, and you can either pound them out or you can slice them. I opted to slice them, and then I'm going to roll up the stuffing inside of them, put them in my casserole dish, and pop them in the oven at 350 for 30 minutes. I did end up just putting these in the fridge after they cooled down and saving them for Sunday night's dinner as well as Saturday's lunch. We just had them on Saturday with some tomato soup and Sunday with our carrots. While the chicken cooks, our carrots have come to a boil and cooked for 15 minutes, and that cooks them through perfectly. To make the glaze, just put 2 tablespoons of margarine and 1/3 cup of maple syrup. Just mix that together and cook it for just a minute over medium heat, and then pour it over your carrots. This is honestly the best way to get your family to eat carrots. They are sweet, they are delicious, the kids like them, they're like candy. And here we see our chicken coming out of the oven, fully cooked. And I'm just going to put everything into some containers once they are cooled down. On Sunday, you'll see that we had the most amazing dinner, and Saturday's lunch was really good with the chicken and tomato soup as well.
All right, guys, that's it for what we ate. It's the morning time. I'm looking like a hot mess, but I got to film an outro, and that's the glory of YouTube, right? Just get to wear what I'm in. Be who I am. For the meals, we really enjoyed all of them. They were awesome. It was a really great and I would say robust meal planning week for us on this budget challenge. Everybody was very, very happy. There's obviously a few things I would have done differently, like adding sugar to my tomato soup, but for some of the other recipes that should have had sugar, like the pancakes and the biscuits, honestly, you couldn't tell the difference. I don't think. I mean, I didn't make them with sugar. They were just fine. We didn't have that much cheese, but it worked out fine. Buying the sour cream was a savior. The kids love sour cream, so I can pretty much just like cover anything in that and they will eat it, which is a definite benefit. I didn't mention in my voiceover, but we did have a lot of extra rice left over, and if we were hungrier or didn't have other items, this is spilling, but we could have made about 1.5 cups more rice, so that's quite a bit. I did use rice with the chili. It was actually really good over the rice, which was awesome. And then Dan did have some rice on the side with his
chicken and stuffing and carrots. But overall, it was a huge win. I always want to mention this, you know, if you are struggling with food insecurity, I hope that this is helpful, but if you are struggling even more than this and you can't afford a meal plan like this, please contact your local food pantry or church. There are programs out there to help you. If you're not struggling, please consider donating, especially as we head into the holiday season. I think it's just very, very helpful for those non-perishable items. Consider buying, you know, 2 bags of stuffing instead of 1, or 2 cans of gravy. Very, very helpful when you're thinking about your holiday meal. Make up an extra bag for somebody in need. It's worth it. I really, really, really believe that. And then I did want to get to the extra leftover food items. On my last extreme grocery budget challenge, somebody asked in the comments what food I had left over. So I did want to get to that. I realized I think there was like 2 eggs left over, but we did eat those. I did make those for the kids as like a lunch thing to kind of supplement them at one point. So they had scrambled eggs and some rice at one point for lunch. We made it work, and all that food really did feed us, and we were very, very comfortable. So what's left over? I had a teeny bit of flour left over, but I didn't have any margarine left over, which is why I couldn't do like a little apple crumble or apple crisp. And then baking powder, about a half a container. So that's good because, you know, if you were going to stretch that over, you're going to say, hey, let me do this meal plan this week. You know that you're going to use about a half a container of baking powder, and that would mean that next week, if you wanted to still make biscuits or pancakes or something like that, you can actually, you don't have to buy this. So that's 99 cents right there. It really only costs like 50 cents for one of these. Same thing with our active dry yeast. This was, I think, 89 cents. I only used about one, not even a whole packet, just to make that bread. You know, if I were to go back, would I make the bread? Maybe not. Maybe I would just stick all with biscuits or do the pie crust or something like that. But it still, we ended up with it left over. So that's a good thing. You could roll that over into the next week. So all you would need to get is flour and eggs and whatnot. No, flour to make the bread. And then I ended up with a half a container of white rice. Us personally, we like rice, but I like it with flavors and mixed into stuff. I don't use much plain white rice. I know some people love it. So if a different family was eating this and they maybe had like a higher caloric intake, they may eat all of the rice. We just didn't. But again, if you wanted to, you could roll this over and now you have your rice for the week. So that's $1.49 towards next week, or $1.89 I think for this rice towards next week. 99 cents, 89 cents. So we're looking at $2.50, $3.50, and then you would need more flour. So that could knock about $3.50 off of your grocery bill for next week if you kind of want to roll over and still do that same type of bread meal plan and just switch up your meats and your veggies, and you pretty much got it. So that is it for today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this. I know these are long, but they're really fun to do, and I hope that they give you some inspiration to really, you know, cut down that budget, save some money. You know, we all want to save money right now. And you don't have to eat terrible food. You can eat really well for a small budget. So I just appreciate you guys so much. If you like this video, definitely give it that thumbs up. That supports my channel, it supports me, keeps me going to make more of these. I'm thinking Dollar Tree for $20 next time. I know there was a lot of requests for that after my $15 challenge, so probably gonna head into the Dollar Tree for a $20 challenge. I also see myself doing a Dollar Tree Thanksgiving as well as a Walmart Thanksgiving. So think of those things coming up. You definitely want to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of those. I will see you guys very soon.